You're listening to Tripod, the Tricycle Creative podcast, produced for anyone interested in being a better digital and content marketer. Host Ross Erosion is a marketing coach, content creator, and entrepreneur who brings you helpful tips, social media updates, inspiring interviews, and his own unique perspective on how to tell your story and grow your business. So sit back, relax, and let's get pedaling.
Victoria Weber is this episode's guest on my 2020 Rewind mini-series, and she's bringing the element of youth street cred to Tripod. Victoria is another person like Matt Murphy who I met this year and have really enjoyed getting to know her. When we met, as you'll hear in this episode, she was looking for a job, and we had many conversations about her career aspirations, and I even helped her polish her resume. But make no mistake about it, Victoria's not one of those entitled millennials. No, she's super creative, talented, and a go-getter. P.S. I hate the classification of millennials as entitled or lazy. It's complete and utter bullshit, but that's probably a conversation for another day. Today, we're talking with Victoria about looking for employment during a pandemic, how the TikTok platform is evolving, and selling your turnips for bells. Hey, Victoria, thank you so much for joining me on Tripod.
I'm very excited to be here.
I just learned this is not your first podcast. I mean, when we agreed to do it, it was, but then you did another one in between, and so now you've warmed up on another show. So you should be like ready for my grilling line of questioning.
I am ready, and if all my years of improv have taught me anything, whenever I'm put on the spot, words will happen. It doesn't mean that they make sense, but
I'm only doing this for the gotcha moment. So this is really just, I'm really just putting this together to really try and trip you up and get you. But I appreciate years of improv skill. I don't think you'll need to fully utilize them for this show, but we shall see. So I wanted to start with, 2020's been a year, as we all know. A year. It's the simplest way to put it. But I think there's been a lot of yuckiness around 2020. So I'd like to hear from you, what's one good thing that happened to you in 2020?
Oh, man. So not to do a spoiler alert for some of the challenges.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. One of the best things, which I'm very grateful and blessed to have the opportunity, I was able to start a new role, and it's the first time I've been so empowered in a role and been able to really use my creativity and contribute. So that's been so exciting. People have been giving my head of marketing a hard time because of how non-traditional our team structure is. But I'm like, sorry, I'm sure this wasn't your intended direction. But I mean,
how strong an argument is non-traditional in 2020?
It's not. That's the best part is approximately 0% of historical data and trends are currently accurate. So it's a great time. I mean, what male CEO wouldn't love to have a team that does a competitive campaign based off of the award-winning reality TV show, The Bachelorette?
I feel like I will say this, award-winning reality TV show is a modern day oxymoron to me.
Oh, correct. Yes. I don't think they've actually won awards.
I would wager a guess that they probably have. There's enough awards going out there that are just floating around out there with the rabid following that The Bachelorette has. I have to believe they've probably won some sort of web award at the very least.
Oh, I am sure. They are a very long-running TV show. They have a wide breadth of audience, and if you're in the banking and financial space, why wouldn't the bank Lorette come to mind? I mean, that just
Absolutely. And I think, what's very interesting about, you're just that the fact of the good thing of 2020 is that, I think that's one thing that has been forgotten, I guess, is that there have been, there's two sides of each coin. And I'm not here to say that one is better, or each one is custom to each person. But I would say that there are opportunities that came out of this year because of how almost wacky, unpredictable, changing, weird that it was. There opportunities were to be had.
yes. Obviously there were some people who had a lot more challenges versus
Yep.
opportunities, but I think the creativity that was allowed, like we filmed it all completely over Zoom, the fact that that is even
Yeah.
who would have who would have thought? Um, and also, if you would have asked me, I came into the year, I guess I feel naive looking back, with a lot of hope, because it's a new year, it's a fresh start. And here I am, not that I'm keeping track, but it's day 241 of me isolating at home, uh, trying to stay safe. So, yeah, there are opportunities, but challenges, and there's a lot of uh, another opportunity that I was thinking about. I mean, I think I could have done a lot of this thinking in a shorter time frame. So like 2 or 3 months, I think could have gotten there as well. But so obviously, I, COVID is a terrible thing, and I would never wish it on anyone. But there is a slight silver lining, just like a little bit, of when else are we going to be able to have the time to sit and pretty much like have all distractions kind of stripped away and to really sit with our thoughts and like our morals and values and what we want out of life, what we believe, what we support, what we don't. Since I realized myself that I was pretty much going nonstop. In my last role, I was traveling a lot, doing things with friends, improv, sports leagues. So I never really took a moment to sit and think. Um, and so I've learned in 241 days of being at home, you learn a lot about
You
yourself.
do.
Uh,
And I think the story
and
there is it's
yeah,
about, for creatives and even creative business owners out there, it's about the adopting and evaluating change, right?
mhm,
COVID was a major, major disruptive change agent, right? But I
mhm,
think absent of that, every year, every day, every month, whatever that goes on, you're going to have to deal with change, or and how much, how are you going to react to it? How are you going to move forward with it? How are you going to make changes or decisions because of it? Right. So I think that brings
mhm.
nicely to or to challenges, right? um it's like the giant ball of yarn that like unravels. It's like, but when we talk about challenges of 2020, what's the biggest one that you had this year?
I'm like, how much time do we have? So a lot of them are intertwined. So this is the part that was spoiled, but due to my new role, that started from losing my prior role. And again, a lot of us came into 2020 with a lot of like optimism and hope for just a clean slate. And then, right as soon as lockdown happened, pretty much in early April, I found out that my employment was no longer stable, that I would be losing my job. And then I was basically staring down at my Cobra insurance that was going to expire in December. So, in the middle of a pandemic, losing your livelihood.
Was Let me ask you this.
So, mhm,
Without breaking the fourth wall, you're
mhm.
you're younger than me. Many are. Was your
I
previous
thought I
was your
sounded older.
No, I want to paint this picture. I think it's important. Was your previous job, that wasn't your first job or anything, far from it, correct? Right?
No.
Yeah. So, well, I just bring that up because, you know, transitioning, losing a job and finding a new one in this environment had to be so different and more challenging than ever before.
It was terrifying. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was absolutely terrifying. I'm no stranger to the job search, but I guess that's kind of when you start working at startups, that's kind of what you get is it's not always stable. But I was very nervous. There were different opportunities that just fell through for different reasons. And I'm very grateful for my network. It actually all started with a LinkedIn post. My current manager posted looking for marketing employees. And as part of, so I'm on the executive board for the Austin AMA. Our current president commented my name, and then that's how the whole conversation started. Because it is, I mean, during non-COVID times, the applications, it's very hard to even get an interview to get on anyone's radar. And the fact that so many qualified people were out of work and still are, and I'm sure the listeners are like marketing and creative was hit pretty hard. There are certain functions that typically sales is one of the last to go because obviously they're a huge revenue driver, and sometimes with marketing it's harder to quantify. And yeah, that was very difficult. But going through the interview process, I definitely feel that I ended up the right place for me. And I did not expect to. I've said this, but I think this actually might have been my dream role, or at least for right now. It's what I've been aiming for a long time, and I have a background in sales, but I've always kind of towed the line between sales and marketing, and I wanted to make the complete switch. And so I said, okay, like I'm home. There's nothing else to do. So I'm just gonna put my all into this job search and really try to make a transition.
Do you think
Um,
with that job
mhm.
search, do you think that like the path to hire people who are hiring and opportunities was weirdly enough made more accessible because, like you mentioned, how you were tagged on LinkedIn, right? And that
Mhm.
led to a
Mhm.
conversation that whatever that path. I wonder in a non-COVID world, right? If that would have happened as quickly, or if that would have happened if that would have been followed up on the same way. I almost feel like digital almost started to gain, weirdly enough, more credibility.
It's Yeah, and it's also a lot of the people more the executive level. Many of those roles, at least pre-COVID, they were traveling a lot. There were a lot of like in-person meetings, which obviously they just take longer based off of you have to go somewhere, get back, like plan all the time around it. And so I feel like people have been more accessible. That's and just having Zoom as the norm instead of having to have physical, like candidates physically
Yeah.
go
Well,
places. So it's,
as a former
yeah.
recruiter myself, I could see benefits to be had there. I mean, I know like
Mhm.
their candidates are always coming to you when you're the recruiter, but still,
Yeah.
I can see there being certainly efficiencies in time doing things virtual through video than even through in person.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I enjoyed it since I benefited from it. And we did just hire this week. It's been really exciting. We had two new candidates join our team, I guess employees. They're not candidates anymore, but
they've changed. They've upgraded. They've been upgraded.
they they leveled
That's
up.
right.
Um, and one of them actually, it was someone I had met in Austin, but she was also impacted by COVID, moved home to Michigan. And the other girl we had start is in Chicago. And so my team is all spread out, but even my director, who I work most closely with, so I'm in Austin. She lives in Austin, and we've never met face to
Huh,
face.
wow.
Um,
That's
yeah, I
strange to
think
think
like
about, right? I mean, that's I can't imagine another. I mean, I suppose it's certainly possible with larger corporations, but I feel like that's almost something that is now probably very realistic with, I mean, almost any size organization.
yeah, now we are a team of
She's doing
6,
calculations.
and I
Oh,
know we'll be
okay.
7. I just, in my mind, I am entertained because my boss ended up with a team of 5 strong, ambitious women. So I knew there was us, and then we have one of our technical experts is on the team, and then he will be having someone to support him soon. So it's a pretty small team. We've launched numerous campaigns, and yeah, we've just none of us have ever met face to face, and we're hoping that it will happen sometime in the future, hopefully sooner rather than
Sure.
later. But
So
yeah,
I think it's safe to say, like with most, roller coaster year, lost your job, had to go into the job search, found a new job. It's a job that you're
mhm.
very, very pleased with, very happy in right now. So let's keep that ball rolling as far as positivity. What do you plan on changing or improving, or maybe in this case, keeping going for your life, for your business, or your career for 2021?
So I would love to keep this job going. We have some exciting plans. Um, our so my manager, he wants us to be edgy. He wants us to be innovative. He wants us to kind of turn the general perception of marketing completely upside down. I am totally for that. I don't do boring well. Like
She
I
said
can't.
this as
And
she's
so
wearing a cat in a president. I don't not. It's like a cat. How would I describe this shirt that you're wearing when we're talking about creativity?
um
It's a patriotic cat. I was gonna say presidential, but it's like a patriotic
patriotic
cat with a one of those tricolored
bomb pops.
popsicles. Yeah, he has one in his hand. Would you consider the cat on your shirt a he? Just out of curiosity.
I think the cat is a
Okay.
he. It looks like my cat who is a she, but
Okay.
I think this one is probably a
He
he.
has a popsicle, but then also riding a popsicle. So,
It was
to say that you
um
don't do boring, I think is a fair a self assessment, if I may.
my theme of 2020 recently has been we laugh so we don't cry. And it's election day 4,
Yeah,
and I think all of us are just like we get like we've had the experience. We'd like to
I thought you were going to
draw
say my
conclusions from
theme for 2020 is cats, and I was like, oh no, this is going to have to be an intervention. This is an intervention
oh,
show where like
oh
you have all these, like, you're going to pan the camera down that I see it, and it's just going to be your apartment's filled with cats.
oh, I mean, that's just the theme for my
Oh,
life.
okay.
That's
That's
been the
normal
theme.
life. Okay.
Yes. I'm like, I am in a happy relationship, but still identify as a cat lady. So you can have it all.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. Um,
Um,
so I want to ask you, and I keep this pretty open, recommendations.
mhm.
This could be a hot tip you got, maybe a stock tip. I don't know. Probably not. A recommendation. I don't have any tips. I don't know. A book, a movie, a whatever, a podcast. I leave it very open, and I let you throw out there any sort of recommendations that you found particularly helpful, either this year or in your life, and maybe a fellow creative out there would also find helpful.
So I have a couple
Okay, I love it.
that I feel like they're off the beaten path, but maybe they're not. Maybe they
Okay,
are. Um, One of the things that everyone talks about, but I feel like not a lot of people understand or utilize it to its full advantage, if there are marketers and they are looking to increase their customer base and they are looking to skew younger, you got to be on TikTok.
Whoop, whoop. Controversial take. And actually, as we sit here, day 4 election, it'll be very curious to see if the outcome of the election will determine the outcome or difficulty of TikTok's future.
Well, as it stands right now, I understand there's controversy about the parent company, about the purchase. However, all in all, I've been on for over a year, maybe close to like a year and a half now. It's transitioned from just an app with like teenagers like doing dances, whatever. When I first started, I was like, I am not the target audience. So therefore I just made videos of my cat.
Your default start to a platform.
But due to quarantine, so many professionals ranging from like doctors, lawyers, financial advisors, a lot of celebrities, and a lot of artists and small business owners have started making content. And the algorithm kind of learns what your preferences are. And I started seeing a lot of like Procreate. So Procreate, the iPad app. I'm trying to learn like calligraphy and just doing different like drawing exercises, trying to use the more creative part of my brain. So you can use it for education as well as, surprisingly, I get a lot of my news from there now, because it's little 30-second to a minute snippets. And of course, it depends on like who you follow. But as you're scrolling through, and there's a lot of political TikTokers on both sides of the spectrum, and a lot of them do bring receipts. They bring their sources.
But it gives you that bite-sized thing. I mean, even like I'll jump on to Twitter, a trending thing, and I'll look in, right? To get that first, if you will, like your daily dose, if you will, right? And then you may find that rabbit hole, or you inevitably will find that you go down, and I don't know, maybe it's a black hole, maybe it's a rabbit, whatever. You find something and you dig in a little deeper on it, but you're finding it as at least a useful like tool for not only, I mean, content's a big umbrella, but also just for information. So again, it's not just the lip dubs and dance stuff now, that it is a evolving, robust platform.
It is so fascinating to look at it from a more like analytical perspective. But if you love moving targets, would highly recommend, because some of the challenges, depending on the organization you're in, organizations can move slowly. But with trends and TikTok, there are inside jokes that are like 7 layers deep that it's just very hard to explain. I know people are always like, you wouldn't get it. But like there are things that go viral for whatever reason. Everyone jumps on the bandwagon, and then within 2 days, it's something else.
It's gone. So it has a fast burn rate.
But if you are going after that audience,
that's a place
you definitely want to immerse yourself in there. So then you won't look like you're just, I joke, I'm like, I don't know if this is an offense. I self-deprecating jokes about being like the village elders. If you are too late to the trends,
it's the Steve Buscemi gif, right? It's the, hey there, fellow kids. Yes. Steve Buscemi walking up with a skateboard, right? You don't want to be, you want to be that guy or gal.
But there are some companies,
whatever,
Exactly. Like there are some companies like Chipotle is doing a lot on there, or just different brands that if they have a team dedicated to it who are doing it really well.
It's so hard. And this is where I get so conflicted, even as someone who helps clients with it, right? Here's what digital marketers, right, at volume will do to these. They will ruin the platforms. I hate to say it, but they do. They do. Like, and I'm not saying it can't be done right. So you so it's not ruination. But they will, you know,
But it's very
well,
easy to
it's what
it's very
happens
easy to miss the mark.
is they come in, right? They kind of dork it up a little bit, right? And then, but
Mhm.
here's the thing: they not only dork it up, but they pay to dork it up. So then the platform is like, well, I mean, we're getting some money here. And depending on how responsible that said platform is and how much they care about their user base, they'll lean in really heavy to that money or not. But oftentimes that money can change how that platform works. We saw this with Facebook pre 2018. Right? Don't laugh. She
Oh, don't
laughs
get
at face. I know
oh,
we cannot talk about Facebook right now because we'll both just I would but we saw it with
no,
Facebook
I saw it.
pre
I know
2018.
we are not talking about
Yeah.
it for
Oh,
this month,
yeah.
but I did get told it was, oh my gosh, now I'm like, ugh, it feels like it was
Yeah.
yesterday, probably 6 or 7 years ago. My cousins were in middle school and they told me that Facebook was Instagram for old people.
I would say that is that's a compliment. I wouldn't even go that far. I don't even think it's that good. Like
And I'm like, I'm not old. Okay, like I graduated college, like, but
I think
what?
that statement
Um,
gives Facebook more cred than it actually kind of deserves, to be fair. Like
and
but I get the sentiment, to be fair. Like I
and
understand, for sure.
I think the challenge right now with platforms like Instagram and Instagram influencers, um, the challenge is all of the ways you can artificially boost your following, purchase likes, purchase followers. Um, LinkedIn obviously has its own special algorithm that I don't know if anyone understands. But the thing about TikTok is the algorithm is so random. It feels more like equal opportunity.
Hmm.
The most random things will go viral, and based off of like the watch time and the amount of likes, then it will boost that
That is
content.
something
And so,
I have even liked on TikTok as an outside observer, that it has been
mhm,
content first, right? And that's,
mhm,
I think that's a big barrier to entry for it for a lot of people is that, and why, candidly, marketers haven't quite mucked it up yet is because, it's not as simple, right? As like a Facebook where you can
mhm.
just, I'm going to write this and put my link in there. You got to really like
Yep.
lean in on TikTok. And that's a reason why some people
And
don't. And it's some people why they fail. But I think that's like really true is because it's content first. And to your point, the current users like sniff it out, you know?
oh yeah, no one I haven't seen anyone who's found a way to game the system yet. Um, it's yeah, it's been very interesting to see some people who have literally made careers out of it kind of on accident.
Yeah.
Um, speaking of another
Okay.
recommendation or just something
Recommendation
that
number
I've
2. First one, TikTok. At the very least, may I say, recommendation is to that you're saying maybe at least explore TikTok. At least see what it's all
yeah, just
about.
like watch videos. You don't have to make
Sure.
content. You don't have to force yourself into it,
Mm-hmm.
but just to observe it, the number of things that Gen Z has done, without getting like too political, the amount of like political change and things they've coordinated just over the app. There's even a joke, I'm like, this is not relevant to this conversation,
You're
but
gonna make it. Let's do it. Yeah, go ahead.
they are writing a Ratatouille musical for like no good reason besides the fact that someone said they should, and someone's like, here's the program, here's one of the songs. Like it is a joke that just is like going too far, but now it's
But
like it has
but
to complete
here's
its
the other
course.
thing I've said about TikTok and why I do like it. It's because it still feels fun. And
Hmm.
it's because marketers haven't ruined it, but it still feels fun. Like this is part of my no Facebook November. Part of it is that just Facebook as a brand and even as a person, but I'm only no Facebooking for my brand, right? Just to be clear.
Hmm.
But like, it just didn't feel like I didn't care anymore. And we'll see how I feel in
No.
December, but like it's just like it feels like a chore. It's
Hmm.
not like Facebook doesn't give a crap about brand pages, right? So like its algorithm is kind of like punishing to brand pages. It's a pain in the butt. And I just don't like it, you know? And at the end of the day, I've always said, when you're a business owner, you own the business to play by your own rules. If you don't want to play by your own rules, go work for someone else. So I'm like, listen, I run my business, but who's going to tell me I can't do this? If I was in some of my other roles, they'd be like, no, you can't do that. Like, no, you can't. I'm the boss. I can go off Facebook for a month, but it's not necessary. It's not only knee jerk. It's strategic. It's like, I've looked at the numbers combined with the effort I put into it. I don't know if I care. So let's take a month off and see how I feel, you know? So TikTok 1, and now let's talk about recommendation 2. Fire away.
You actually made a nice transition. Ooh. And like, speaking of chores, what would be more fun than an imaginary island where you go and do virtual chores after work?
I know where you're going with this, I think. Go ahead. Keep going. I think I know where you're going.
It is relevant.
Okay, I'm not saying it's not.
Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing. Okay. Tell me about Animal Crossing, because I am a gamer, but I don't have a Nintendo system, so I'm not.
I am not a gamer. Okay. This is the first game I've ever played. When I was on my old people Instagram, Facebook, I saw for a couple weeks people just posting about this, and I was like, I don't know what this is. But my boyfriend surprised me, and he got the game. We had a Switch, and I hopped onto it, and I really enjoy like the island. I think it's fun. But some people are more into like designing their island. Some people are more into like fishing. I'm into hoarding. I like all the outfits. And I really just don't decorate my island. But
your island is like a wasteland, but your walk-in closet is on point.
I mean, my island has been called Trash Island before because I ran out of storage in my house, so I store it on the ground. But the best part is I had a friend who invited me to a Facebook group. He is in Austin. He's a creative. He has a lot of friends who are creatives, but they're like photographers and DJs and a lot of career paths that have been hard hit by COVID. And it's this weird thing that has been happening that I'm not saying that like this video game is my social life, but it's been an interesting community, and we call it COVID friends. But it's an interesting community of people that we like, I don't know, because we are trying to keep ourselves occupied, we like dress up and go to other people's islands. And I've actually met
dinner parties,
two of them in
some
person.
Kind of virtual dinner parties in Animal Crossing.
Yeah, and we did like a pajama party. We did like a fake.
Can I ask,
voting.
just out of curiosity, did you get the game when in that time period where you were also unemployed? Because I feel like that was probably a dangerous acquisition.
It was still while I was kind of employed, but it was only after I found out I was soon to be unemployed.
Your boyfriend's a brave man making that purchase at that time.
He thought that he would also get to play.
Well, of course, as boyfriends and husbands are prone to do, you know?
He played the first day, and then I think he just realized he's like, he has other gaming systems and things he can use, and I'm like, this is the one thing. And so I've met the people like in person, but 6+ feet apart, like outdoors, trading off like a face shield for whatever reason, or just different things. And so it's this community we're building along with, like it is a game, but I don't got it just to like hang out by myself.
Doesn't it feel? I want to point two things out as an observer, as a listener here. Give me a face like you're worried about what I'm going to say. Don't be. I find it interesting that the two things that we've talked about have been centered around the concept of community. And that the two things you've also mentioned have circled around the concept of activities that bring joy. And I think that's just important to point out that stuff is necessary. Like pandemic or not, It's necessary.
I am not an introvert. And but I've been home for so long, and every time I see someone, even from like 6 feet away, it reminds me that I'm not an introvert. Um, and then like to bring it back, just one little marketing tidbit about Animal Crossing. A really interesting thing was towards the beginning of the pandemic. I don't remember the fashion designer's name, but there was a fashion designer who was dropping their fashion line, and they had like a virtual
Oh,
runway, like a
that's
virtual
hilarious.
fashion show on Animal Crossing.
That's hilarious.
Um, and then a couple weeks ago, I'm like, I'm giving them free advertising. Ally Bank. So just a little bit about the game. I won't go too deep, but the money system, it's called bells. And the running joke is that as you're expanding your house, there's a raccoon who owns the island, and you keep getting more and more in debt to him as you like expand your house. The loan gets bigger and bigger.
Okay.
So it's like kind of reflects
Sure.
reality. But they had a whole campaign where you can, okay, this is getting to be a lot. On Sundays, you buy turnips,
Okay.
and it's called the
This is so
stalk
interesting to me.
market,
This is so
like a
okay.
turnip
I
stalk.
wow. Wow. I love a
And
good pun.
and
And I love that. Okay.
and twice a
Yeah.
day, you go to the store on your island and you can sell them for different prices. There's like a whole like prediction model.
Okay.
People, there's websites for this. So you buy them for like between 90 to like 105 bells, and you hope to sell them for like 4 to 500. So you make like a huge profit, and then you
This
can
is like
pay
teaching
off your
people
debt to
day
the raccoon.
trading. This is a day trading game.
Correct.
Okay.
And an Ally Bank was like, hey, everybody, if you have turnips, come to our island and sell them for 500 bells. So
Whoa.
somehow, I don't know how they did it behind the
Whoa.
scenes, but yes, that is I thought that
So
was
that
so
was the
creative.
day.
Obviously, it fits within their like
Yeah.
target audience, and they're a bank, and so it's like a form of
And brand affinity,
currency.
right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
listen, I know so many of my friends are playing Animal Crossing. I
Yeah.
would I would say that it is barely a hobby and more of an obsession for almost everyone that is playing. So I understand, like, I could see the play, the brand affinity, if you will, right? That you get from
Mm-hmm.
that, right? And that's are you going to get people to sign up if they had probably come in game like, hey, you fill out this form and we'll contact you? I'm sure they wouldn't have, Nintendo wouldn't have let that happen, but that probably wouldn't have happened, right? But
No.
this like the God, I can only imagine the kudos and the upvotes on Reddit and the likes that it got on TikTok, like for that particular
So
brand.
much. And again, I'm not trying to bring a ton of politics into here. I just am telling the stories that I know and I've seen. Um, Joe Biden has some really talented interns. They made him an island that people could like go
Biden
visit.
Island.
And one, so remember the turnip prices when you can sell them for like a high amount of bells? Someone tweeted that they had like a really high price that you could sell turnips. AOC herself went to that person's island. It was like a huge news story that she like visited their island to sell her turnips.
Well, she's a big gamer. She went on a Twitch stream or something before the election,
Mm-hmm.
also. So, I think there's just again there's power, opportunity, and I would say happiness. It doesn't always have to be something with
Mm-hmm.
like God. You don't need to get like this world, this American world. If I need instant gratification, there's something. These communities, they still exist. They've moved,
Mm-hmm.
and probably your in-person community has
Mm-hmm.
changed, right? Everyone out there listening, but it doesn't mean that there aren't, communities, I'd say thriving and maybe even being created
Mm-hmm.
because of all the events of 2020 and by extension COVID.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting and really wild. We started off the pandemic strong. I had my kickball team. We got our shirts, and we never actually got to play a single game this season because everything shut down.
It's like when they
Well, I
create
guess
shirts for a Super Bowl team that doesn't win. It's like you have shirts, the game you haven't even been played.
and so we played a lot of like Jackbox games towards the beginning. They just came out with a new pack, which I haven't downloaded, but I think everyone, even that got kind of old after a while. I do have, so then I also have some TV show recommendations. Again, none of this
Okay.
is serious or very educational.
Well, I don't, yeah, I don't have to do serious and educational all the time. It gets exhausting for me too. So what TV shows are you watching?
Okay. So the top, these are, I consider some of the top humor and best written shows. Schitt's Creek.
Number one with a bullet.
Have you?
Top.
Amazing.
Course. I mean,
amazing.
I don't even think we could be talking if I had this one guy on my Facebook feed that said he didn't like Schitt's Creek, and I was like, I need to unfriend you. I don't even understand.
No, thank you.
How do you, what? Now you're just doing that to be the guy who doesn't like it. You know what I'm saying? Because come on.
I'm like, get
out of here. I mean,
you just want attention. It's fine. But like
the character development and character arcs of that show are just so touching. And it has so many moments, much like The Office, where I cry every time. Every time I cry. And I've seen it like 5 times. I still cry.
Yeah.
Still tear up.
And
it's wuss.
Amazing. I haven't watched the final episode of the last season because like I don't want it to be over.
What are you doing over there? Are you kidding me?
I just don't want it to be done.
It's on Netflix now. You can watch it again. I can't believe you.
Well, so what I did is because I didn't have access to the new season, I rewatched all the seasons before I watched it, and I think it's hard for me to let go.
I get you. Yeah. Okay.
But then I feel like maybe I'm like the person from like 10 years ago who's like, everybody watch Game of Thrones. Everyone's like, we've heard of this.
No, I do think it's very popular, but conversely, I can relate to your concern there because I'm kind of the reverse. What I am is I don't listen to those people who say that. Like for like the 5-10 years where they're like, go watch Game of Thrones, you gotta watch it. And I'm like, nah, I'm not really. I mean, it's right in my wheelhouse, but I'm just like, it seems like a lot of work. Like, I don't want to a lot of it seems like I need to take notes while I watch. But here's what I do. When and if I come around to watching those things like 5 years later, I'm like late to the party guy, like we talked about before. I'm like, have you guys seen Game of Thrones? And they're like, bro, we talked about that for like 10 years. Where were you? It's like The Wire. I've never seen The Wire either.
I'm like, there's a lot of popular shows that I haven't seen, but I do know that Game of Thrones, it was kind of 10 years to lead up to disappointment, but like Schitt's Creek did not. Just 2 other.
How would you even know? You haven't seen the last episode, but keep going. It's okay. I'll allow it.
I know it's disappointing. I had Facebook. And then The Good Place.
Great. Also on Netflix. All seasons are now on Netflix at the time of this recording. Netflix moves stuff around. But all seasons. Just finished that one too. Are you hacking my Netflix? Are you watching the exact same shows I am? Because yeah, Good Place.
Maybe.
Really good. Love Ted Day. Love everyone in that show. They were all really great.
So good. And the comedy is very layered. I appreciate it. But also they wrote it intending to have 4 seasons. Yeah. And they had 4 seasons, so they were able to tie things up in a bow to like not be disappointing.
100%. Like it was intentional, and it never felt like it went off the rails. You know,
correct.
Was really well done.
And then the last, which someone just suggested to me, I went in with 0 expectations.
This might not be one I'm watching, but let's see. Go ahead.
I have since recommended it. One of my coworkers she's pretty much made it to the end of Netflix. Okay. Every single show I'd recommend, but she had not seen this, and she stayed up all night watching this multiple times. Superstore.
Oh, so good. So good. May I point out? Superstore and Good Place have come off our fruits from the Office tree, if I may. For anyone out there See, here we go. Talk about The Office. Have you heard of it? Hey, Victoria, have you heard of this
Hey,
show?
there's this new cool
It's
show.
really cool. It's called The Office, right? But
And then I age myself by being like, I watched it before you could stream it online. So if you missed the episode, you were out of luck, or you could tape it.
Wow. I see. I never watched it when it was on TV, weirdly enough. I never watched it. I only know
Oh,
it
man.
I know it I only streamed it. So I never watched it when it was on TV. Wasn't into it. I don't know.
So I'm not saying I showed up to a party dressed as Three Hole Punch Jim and someone else was dressed as Three Hole Punch Jim.
You are saying that.
And there was one Pam.
Only one. Well, that's an awkward situation.
But
yes,
yeah,
Superstore is fantastic. Same deal. Great writing. Just like jokes on different levels. So good. So good. Great recommendations all around. And there's still shows I'm watching. Those are also shows I have on repeat. I literally watch Schitt's Creek all the way through all the time. I watch I probably will start up Good Place again. I mean, it's really good.
So good.
You know?
And I have just one more recommendation, but I can't comment on it too much because it's a book that has not come out yet that I have not read, but I've
what a
pre-ordered.
Strange recommendation. She's recommending something she hasn't even read or tried. This is a baller. This is a baller recommendation right here. A recommendation of such confidence. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I learned about it through the AMA community. Okay. Someone brought it up during one of the marketing mornings. It's called Humor Seriously. Why humor is a secret weapon in business and life and how anyone can harness it, even you.
I like the sound of
that. It was supposed to be released, but I believe it's 2 professors who did like actual scientific research around like improv and humor just in business. So it comes out in February. So I have pre-ordered it.
That sounds like something I need to pre-order too now.
So I'm like, it's a recommendation for a book I like haven't read, but I'm very excited that it will soon exist.
I see that. I can get behind that. I approve it. I'll allow it. So February is when it comes out though? Okay. February 2021.
February 2nd. Mm-hmm.
For anyone listening to this, that they've dug it up in the time capsule in the year 2050, you can get that book on Amazon virtual reality store. Probably
you can
download it into your brain immediately. Perfect.
Oh,
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about, I will say this. Just going back to your game. I understand. I just understand the obsession because I've had a COVID game obsession also. So it hasn't been Animal Crossing. It's been Borderlands 3. It's probably a game maybe your boyfriend is familiar with. I don't know. It's one of those shooting games with super violent shooting games that are super popular.
He had that, and then he had one that was like this big, long, complex storyline. Mm-hmm. That was
no radishes, turnips, or bells. I mean, come on, get out of here. Am I right?
Yeah. Who would do that? Who would go and do chores, and like pull weeds and like go fishing for fun?
You can't. Listen. I get it. I mean, like I said, I just love that so many of your recommendations, if not all of them actually, are just centered around joy first, community second. And I think it is just such a good thing. I'm really happy, to pull back the curtain just a little bit. We just met this year. We met through the AMA, I think, in that time period between your jobs. And, there's very much a reason why I wanted to have you on the show, because I think I loved the conversations we had. I was so super happy for you that you got I knew you were out of work. We chatted, we connected. And then very quickly, before I could almost, not to say I was able to directly help, before I could even attempt to help you, you had a job. But let me say this. There is very much a reason why you were able to secure that job. And I know it is because you are absolutely a hustler in a good way. I don't mean she's going to take your wallet. I mean, this is a girl who goes after stuff, you know, and you put so much thought and work even into, like, we spent some time working on your resume, right? And even that, like, you came prepared. We talked through some of the stuff that you had done previously for another interview that you had, like, and I was just, even in those meetings, I was like, I don't really feel like I even need to worry about her that much. Like, I feel like she's gonna make this happen, you know? And I think what that is I'm a big believer in the make your own luck, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a saying, I don't know who to attribute it to, and we can just say it's me because it's so smart, that,
absolutely.
you know, luck is the unexpected arrival of skill. And I think that is very much true for people who felt like they got lucky this year or something like that. More often than not, you make your own luck. And I think you really did that with this job. And I'm really happy to hear that you're enjoying it so much. So thank you for spending the time with me and chatting with me about all your recommendations. I'm not going to I'm actually kind of afraid of buying a Switch. I'm afraid that I will be sucked into the Animal Crossing thing. So I'm not going to do that. I have an obsession currently. I can't take another obsession.
Well, if you do, just know that Nintendo keeps sending out updates and patches to the game, which mean they have new seasonal decor, new reasons to keep playing. So it's not just you play it and you reach the end of Animal Crossing. They keep launching. We just got
that's where
there's
a hypocrisy.
We got swimming.
There's a hypocrisy in gaming or gamers, right? That I think that the dude bros would throw out Animal Crossing, but in this game that I'm playing, they do the same thing. It's like, ooh, we got new outfits and new guns. It's like, bro, it's the same thing. Like, just relax. Like, as radishes or you know, oh, you can change the head on your character seasonally or some nonsense like that.
Wild.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So thank you so much again for joining me on Tripod. To get links to all of Victoria's recommendations and to check out other episodes on our podcast, go to tripodpodcast.com for show notes, and I will see you next time. And until then, I encourage you to keep pedaling.
Thanks for listening to Tripod. Be sure to subscribe and rate the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. Show notes can be found at tripodpodcast.com. Connect with Tricycle Creative on social media at Hello Tricycle, and learn more about how we can help you with your marketing at tricycle-creative.com.